Hi guys, I'm Molly. I'm from Orange County, California, and I've lived here for about 6 years now, and I absolutely love it. It's home. It's where I have most of my precious memories that I've ever had, and I'm actually from Texas, which is kind of crazy. Yes, love Texas. Texas has my heart. It is so sweet, so dear to my soul. I grew up in the Austin/Dallas area. I moved every 4 years. It was really cool because my parents really valued the aspect of being kind of thrown into something new and adapting to that culture and learning learning about different people and their backgrounds and just different cities and places. And so up until I was in high school, I want to say up until I was in 7th grade, I was already in like 4 or 5 different schools. I went to a private school, a Baptist church, and a Catholic school, and Episcopalian. I think that's how you say it, yeah. But I loved it because it was cool. I mean, I grew up with a lot of faith. I mean, Texas is the Bible Belt, so it was really cool to grow up with a good standard of life, you know, and then I grew up and came out here. But I also was very blessed to have been given an opportunity to have a very multicultural family. Like, what's really cool about me is that I'm also adopted. Although I grew up in Texas, I was actually born in China, and I was one of the fortunate ones who came over and have stayed consistently with my adoptive parents. Back in the 70s, there's this policy called the one-child policy, and that's unfortunately kind of the era I was born in the 90s. And it was kind of like a crisis that no one has ever dealt with before, and people from the Westerners, you know, the Americans over here were kind of called and led to help these children in China. And I was blessed with the most amazing parents I could have ever asked for in my entire life. They loved me the same as if I was like their own. They a year later had one of their own. So I have a little brother, which is really cool. Another thing about my kind of upbringing that's so different is that it's just taught me a lot about life and about how, you know, in each perspective and different perspectives on life and where you come from, you know. Like growing up in Texas, I'm this Chinese little Asian girl, but I also had only 30 kids in my high school graduating class. Like, that's just mind-boggling. Like, everybody knows everybody. It's like, this is the missus, these are the missers, you know, this is the so family, and so everything is very proper. And I come out here and it's like a culture shock. Oh my gosh, like things are so different. Like growing up, you know, we say yes ma'am, no ma'am out of respect. And here in California, you're like, you don't say that to people. They get offended. Like, they genuinely get offended about it. So it's like those little cultural things that I had to like learn. And now that I've been here for as long that I have, it's like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm not this naive Texas young person who came out here at 18, you know? So it's just really cool to kind of venture out on life and figure out what life is about and who I really am, you know, and what I really want in life. I think another cool thing too is just how lucky and how blessed I am just to know that I've been given this life to live here and do this, because I know a lot of people in my position, whether you're an orphan, right, or you have been through the adoption system, sometimes you wonder, like, am I ever gonna find like that thing that satisfies me the most, that makes you feel like you've done. You're just constantly searching for that happiness and that full gratification of who you are. And I think that's the beauty of life as well. You know, you're constantly hungry and wanting more and wanting to do new things and experiences and meet new people and push your boundaries. I was adopted when I was 6 months old, which has been a blessing, right? But it's also been the most challenging thing. Any person, I think, ever could really go through, like on top of just trying to be accepting and loving of yourself. You're also trying to find this real version, you know, this person of yourself too, this part of you, I guess. But my adoption story was nothing but a miracle, and it was the perfect Cinderella story, and it was perfectly orchestrated by, I believe, God. So pretty much, you know, back then, China was going through the one-child policy. And so this was the time that I was born, you know, in the 90s, and they're just like, hey, like if you have more than one child, like you're gonna be in trouble if you don't get that thing out of here, or you're gonna be fined, or you're gonna be in jail, or your life's not gonna look good. So all these kids were just pretty much abandoned and left on the roads, left in places, random places, just to like pretty much either be found or just kind of just die, which is just really sad and harsh to think about, but that was the reality of it all. And so that's kind of how I understood it growing up, you know, and I was very naive at that point and didn't know, but when you are that young, you don't know any better, you know. So for me, going through high school and middle school is a lot of like your wheels are turning and you're just trying to understand like why these things happen to you, and if you believe that everything's supposed to happen for a reason, but what are the life lessons it's really trying to teach you? So I just feel like my whole life has kind of been a blessing, but also a battle that the Lord has just kind of like set in front of me, which has been crazy because the very first person, so my adoption story is actually very, very crazy. I wasn't even supposed to be with the family that I am with today, which is mind-blowing. I know, I have so many names. I was adopted twice within the family, which is crazy. But it was my aunt and uncle today who were in China that went to go get me, not my parents. So back then, you know, in the 2000s, my aunt and uncle, they're both in the ministry and missionaries, and they saw the ad on TV about, you know, the need for families to step up and foster these children that don't have a home, that need help, that are now abandoned, and they need help, love, and care, because if not, they're going to be in a foster home where they're not going to be taken care of and not loved and forgotten. And so my aunt and uncle, being missionaries and having the Lord tug on their strings, said, well, yeah, you call right now. Like, you need to go to save these baby girls in China, which is so crazy to me. And mind you, they're in East Texas. I'm sorry, East, never East. They're in West Texas, out in the middle of nowhere, in Odessa, Crane, like out in the oil fields. And they get this voice from the Lord say, go help and save these Chinese baby girls, which just kind of gives me goosebumps. Just crazy to think that we're all here now. But they went, you know, and they went with a missionary group, not a missionary group, they went with an adoption agency, based out of St. Louis, Missouri. And there's back then, adopting a child back then is not how it is nowadays. It was a lot different. Back then, you pay your fee, right? But then you get there and you're just given the baby. You don't. It's not like a grocery store, okay? You're not going in there picking out the baby you want, seeing how they play, having social services come over and seeing how they interact with you and how you connect with them and how your social. No, nothing like that. Back then, they hand you a baby and they're like, there you go. There's your packet, there's your baby, like, go on to the next one. And at that time, the lady that I was handed to, she did not want me. She was just like, no. She was an attorney. She was very smart, from what I was told. And she just pretty much said, look, this baby looks so sick. She apparently is supposed to be given with the charts that were given, because they just give her the packet. They said, this baby is apparently 6 months, weighed 10 pounds, had a lot of medical diagnoses that could possibly medical tags. They don't know, but they wrote, you know, could possibly be blind, could possibly have Down syndrome, failure to thrive, not being able to move. I mean, mind you, I probably have been. I was found in the conditions I was found, I will tell you, but the conditions I was found, I think that I was doing great just to even be alive and breathing, because a lot of these kids are found in conditions that are unimaginable. Unimaginable. Like, for instance, I was found in a boat dock, on a boat dock. I was found on a boat dock, in a box, literally where like boats come up, a busy section where people can just come and see where a baby, you know, it's actually very smart for my biological mother to think of something like that, to be in a busy area, because that's their ideas. The areas that I was from was probably a very low income, very country, very not so pretty part of China, the countryside, right? And so a lot of them are workers and they're farmers. And so that's the other thing that just kind of blows my mind, that all this happened because the Lord had a better purpose for my life than just kind of what I was given initially in the beginning. It's kind of like he was given, like, you know what, I'm gonna give her a second chance of life. I'm gonna give her some freedom, and she's gonna have to fight for it, but she'll get there. And so I know I kind of went on a tangent, but pretty much the lady who said, she was like, no, I don't want her, she's not even gonna make it back to that 15+ hour flight back to America, all the way, you know, from China. And so my uncle was in that group with his wife, and they're gonna pretty much take me back. They're like, all right, well, you don't want her, you're not gonna get another baby. That's your shot. Like, you can't have another one. She's like, that was gonna be, she just lost out. She didn't want to do it. And my uncle pretty much just said, no, I can't let that happen to her. Like, that's so terrible. That's so, like, just rude, and so, not just rude, but just so, I don't know, like, what's the word I'm trying to find? It's just so insensitive, very inhumane, very just judgy, you know? Like, you see a baby, that's your whole point. They say that these babies need help, that they're going through a lot, that they're not being loved or cared for, or probably even fed, you know, at that matter. And you know what you sign up for, and you get there and your baby is potentially to be sick, and she doesn't, you know, want you. My uncle is like, look, you're taking away hope from that baby without even it having a chance. So we're gonna give her that hope. And so they pretty much said, I don't know what's gonna have to happen, but we're gonna take this baby home with the one that we've already decided that we are going to take. So pretty much paperwork back then take, what, a year to get an adoption done. So pretty much what they did, and immediately once they figured out that they wanted me, they were just like, you know what, Lord, we don't know what's gonna happen, but you're gonna make this happen, or we can take both of these baby girls back to Texas with us to a loving home. So of course, them being, you know, the strong prayer warriors they are, they literally prayed 24/7. What they got done usually takes well over a year worth of paperwork. And back then my uncle was just like, look, I don't know what's gonna have to happen, but we're gonna have to make it work. We're taking this baby girl home. And pretty much what happened, they prayed, they had someone who knew some connection with the Attorney General at the time with the United States. So pretty much my uncle was just like, we're gonna do it. We're just gonna make this happen. Even though it took a whole year to do the paperwork for our first daughter, we're gonna get this done. And you know what they did? They got it done in how many days? They got it done in 5 days. Like, literally right before their plane was to leave to go back home, they got a fax from the United States giving me certification and clarification for me to come into the United States with this family, because back then it was so new, you could only take one child at a time. So they want your help, right, but you can only take one at a time.
Well, Jeeleen, yes, the officials brought her papers today. About 4 o'clock this morning, I went down and we got a fax from the INS. Mrs. Prado just didn't get her way. The Attorney General's office got involved in this, and thanks to Jeff talking to Ryder Scott, and Ryder Scott used to work in the Justice Department, and so he just gave them a call and went over everybody's heads, And what took us 16 weeks to get Mei Lee's papers approved took us about a little over 24 hours to get Ji Ling's. Yeah. Ji Ling. Jiling. And that means season of smartness or cleverness. Yeah. And she doesn't feel too good still. She's got a rattle and probably bronchitis. We were going to leave that loose, Carla, because of that place under her neck's kind of raw. She rubbed it raw. Yeah. Hello. 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 Miriam, Jiling, Hester. Yes, officially today. Yeah. Got all your papers. Yes. The official said, he was laughing and said, I came over and had no children. Then one day I had one baby. Then the next day I have two babies. I'd better go home.
So we bypassed all that. The Lord sent his angels down from above, orchestrated all of this stuff, and I pretty much got to go home with this family. And this is the most incredible thing. That little baby today was my crib mate in China, and now we get to go home as cousins. Literally adoption, not blood, but adoption, cousins by adoption, which is really cool because we grew up together, right? Not really like, we didn't live in the same town per se, but we grew up together, at least communicating and communication and kind of like going through the same things and being this adopted Chinese girl in this white family. Like, that's the funny thing about it, is how whitewashed I really am. Like, when I moved to California, I was very naive to a lot of things, not only about the city in general, but I was also very naive just about like food, right? Or very naive about like telling the different types of like Asians, right? Like knowing that this is a Vietnamese person, knowing that this is a Chinese person, knowing that this is a Korean person. Like in my mind in Texas back in high school, 2010, 2011, 12, 13, there was not a lot of Asians, okay? Like there was maybe me and like one other kid. Like I grew up very predominantly with just Hispanics and white people and yeah, just white people, like a lot of white people. Yeah, a lot of white people. So I grew up as a banana. Like I literally, my idea of Chinese food was Panda Express. Like Pei Wei, Panda Express, that was my sauce. So I just, like, I was your Texas gal. I had an accent, you know. I grew up your Chinese, cowboy, Jesus loving, country fried chicken loving, dog loving person at heart, you know. And it was really cool because not only until I moved to California, right, did I learn more about myself and my culture and my heritage. Like shoot, I didn't even date Asian people until I moved out here, which is just like, it's funny because the Lord is like teaching me like, you used to be so judgmental against them, you know, and I'll teach you, you know. So it's kind of crazy to me. So there's so many things that I could just stem off and just talk about my journey and how I perceive things and the point of view version of my mind of going from a Chinese orphan who grew up in Texas and lived in the city in Texas, lived in the country in Texas, lived on the ranch in Texas, and then now, you know, living in California and has experienced the West Side, Santa Monica, Marina del Rey, to downtown, to now in Orange County. And it's like, you know, I feel like life is so fast, right? but it also is like so slow. So I'm trying to learn and do as much as I can in such a short period of time, and I just feel like there's never enough hours in the day to get anything done. But the one thing that I do love just to remind myself is that you at least have the opportunity to live this life and get to be out here, and because not a lot of people do get to be as fortunate to have a story like that, to where their circumstances was so poor, right, and very minimal at the beginning, and now they're like literally given freedom in the world to do. Sky's the limit on what they want to do. So I've learned a lot. You know, I moved out here when I was right after high school, when I graduated, right, and went straight to work. Went to school, worked in commercials, had an agent, a manager, and did a little TV series here and there. And then music is what I absolutely love and adore. I actually, from growing up in Texas, I grew up in the church, so I was a worship leader. Yes, so very like Jessica Simpson, you know, like my dad wasn't a pastor, my uncle was a pastor, but I sang every day. I mean, I did everything. I was so involved with my hometown. I did the national anthem. I did every Christmas concert. I ever did Rotary Club. I did every meeting. I just loved to sing, right? And not just perform, but just, I love to see smiles on people's faces. And then, you know, when you get to church, I love to really touch and deep and connect with people's emotions, and contemporary, nothing touches my soul more. Nothing out of all the genres that I've sang and have recorded and done over the years, nothing brings the same impact as contemporary Christian music does. So that's kind of where my music background came in. Like I would, in high school on Sundays, sing 3 services, you know, every morning, just to feel like, you know, the Lord, I'm doing what the Lord like wanted me to do. Like that's how I felt. I felt like I was here, put on this world just to go to church, and in the summer work at kids' vacation Bible studies and sing. And then I was like, you know what, I can do this when I grow up, you know, but I can do it elsewhere. I can do it in California. And I moved out here, and that was definitely it's just crazy to see how different your life has changed over time. So yeah, you know, that's my story. I know it's kind of like all over the place and really random and kind of here and there, but I'm a very spontaneous person. I love to talk. I love to getting to know people and sharing my story, and I'm hoping that one day, through my testimony and my experiences, that I can relate to someone out there who also is kind of going through the same thing of growing up in, you know, a different place, right? Like growing up in a different, I'm hoping that I can be, you know, that my experiences can relate to someone, you know, who's been through the same thing, from being adopted, right, from China into an American family. My mom is Mexican and my dad is white, and then I'm Chinese, and, you know, which is crazy, his own little world in itself, which has been such a joy but also funny thing to experience, right? And then going from Texas my whole life to living in California, which is not, you know, it's not like it's new, right? A lot of people have made that courageous move, but just from my perspective and journey, and taking those other elements from being adopted and having a Hispanic background and not being really aware of the California lifestyle until I moved here is actually quite funny. So I'm actually really glad that you guys are here, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much for just listening to me rant and go on about my crazy life story. But if you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed telling you, please stick around for the next one because you never know what else I'm going to share with you guys. So hope to hear and see you guys soon. Bye.